Well, good afternoon, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and very warm welcome to this 31st in the series webinar brought to you by IHRDI, Inclusive Human Resource Development Initiative. Friends, today we are going to speak on a very, very burning topic, which is the art and science of negotiations. So, friends, as you are aware, that since the dawn of human civilization, there has always been conflicts, there has always been fightings, there has always been some kind of disputes. And the traditional way, or the jungle Raj, the jungle way of squaring off the disputes was that it is the survival of the fittest. And therefore, friends, there was just one way to curb the conflict, that was the strong wins, or the total subjugation, or total authority, or total domination of the one by the other, whether it is in the jungle or whether it was by one king of the other. And as we progressed, as we went ahead in the situation, many other methods came about, for the resolution of conflicts. The Indian Hindu epic Holy Mahabharata talks about the fight and the conflict resolution between two warring brothers for a piece of kingdom, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and how this led to a series of negotiations between the two groups, and even mediated by none other than Lord Krishna, who tried his level best to, bring the warring parties to the table and then talk about various aspects, bring about reconciliation, conciliation. But unfortunately, that ended up in the war. But again, it was, delayed, and it was the road was laid because of negotiations. So, friends, lately, if you see, so the 1971 India-Pakistan war, which led to negotiations while the surrender was on, and thereafter, negotiations later between the two political setups, which led to the Simla Agreement. And of late, we are seeing a lot of negotiations taking place between India and China, while there was, some problem on the borders. And today, if you go, negotiations again are on the prime page because of the negotiations going on between the farmer groups and the government of India on the basis of 3 new acts that have been passed. Friends, just talk something about the theory part. Mary Parker Follett, who has been a management thinker of repute and a social worker from United States of America, she just said that conflicts are inevitable. Wherein there will be human beings, there will be conflicts. And she was the one to say that all conflicts are not bad. Rather, conflicts are good. Because conflicts lead to, difference in opinions, which lead to democratic setups, which lead to growth and development. However, you should not allow the conflicts to go out of hand, because then it could be destructive. And she has given, 3 methods how the conflicts or disputes could be resolved. The first method, she says, is by forcing. By this method, it means that one party dominates the other, and the second party subjugates, and it is the win situation for one party, and total, destruction of the second party. But she says this needs to be cautious, used to be in a cautious manner, because it will only last till the second party is weak. Once the second party becomes powerful again, the problem will further surface. The second method she talks about is a compromise method, wherein both parties walk towards each other and both lose, or both are willing to lose some of what they are demanding. But again, she says this method is also fraught with danger, because both of them do not get what they want, and at the end of the day, even this will be a question mark. And she says the last method, which she says is integration, is a win-win method, wherein both the parties get what they desire, rather they get more than what they desire. But this is a hardest method to go by, because it involves lot of research, it involves lot of hand holding, it involves lot of synergy, it involves lot of both parties talking to each other and coming out with a new angle, which was earlier not there while there was a conflict to each other. So she says this win-win method is the best method as such. So herein, friends, what goes by that negotiations is one of the very important modern method of conflict resolution, which talks about a two-way communication designed to reach an agreement between two or more warring parties, and this could lead to problem solving, this could lead to conflict resolution, or this could lead to the dispute resolution. Now friends, the topic, while we said whether it's a science or an art, the literature which is available, it says that negotiations is both a science as well as an art, because it is a science because there are general laws and rules which can be applied under various situations, and they could bring about efficacy in the way how negotiations will take place. And it is an art because it will be further fine-tuned while we keep on improving it with in age, experience, and by way of this aspect. But friends, the Sustainable Development Goals number 16 also talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions, wherein good governance is one of the important parts, and it says that increased participation of people in decision making and universal access to information should be provided so that the decision making is more transparent in nature. It is generally by consensus, or rather more parties are involved into this aspect. So SDG, it covers this aspect, negotiation part in SDG goal number 16. Now friends, to discuss all this and discuss much more than all this, we have three very eminent panelists today, and rather you could just see the composition of panel, and you would see what experiences they have therein, which they bring to the table. I would, with your permission, like to give a warm welcome to Dr. D. Chakrapani, Colonel D.S. Chimaji, and Dr. Mohammad Suleiman, who are joining today for discussions and deliberations on this important topic. Just to give a brief overview of the eminent speakers, Dr. D. Chakrapani is a IAS officer retired. He is from 1983 batch, retired in the year 2011. Dr. Chakrapani has had various important and prestigious positions at the district level, at the state level, at the secretariat level in the government of Andhra Pradesh. He has been the founder director of IHRDI, and after retirement and during that course, he is visiting faculty to various institutions like IIMs, IHRDI, certain ATIs, and certain other prestigious institutions. And Dr. Saab has the privilege to work with two very dynamic chief ministers of Andhra Pradesh, including Shri N.T. Rama Rao and Dr. Shri N. Janardhan Reddy. And sir is very passionate about academics. Rather, it was when we met, when he has so much knowledge about the various diverse subjects that any topic, and he brings so much of value to the table. So welcome, Dr. Chakrapani, and so much thank you for sparing your valuable time today, especially on a Sunday. Welcome, sir. My dear friends, the second panelist of the day, Colonel D.S. Chima, is from the Indian Army, from Defense Services. He has served the Indian Army with distinction for around 31 years. By qualification, he is an engineer and a management postgraduate. He is very passionate about academics, which he pursued after taking voluntary retirement from the Indian Army. And he is a prolific writer, having published 15 books, and he contributes regularly to newspapers, journals, and he is also a trainer of repute. He is a guest faculty, visiting faculty to a number of important and prestigious institutions like Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Missouri, Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration, Punjab University, and so many of other institutions of repute. So welcome, sir, to this podium, and warm welcome and many thanks for joining this. My friends, the third panelist of the day is Dr. Mohammad Suleiman. Dr. Mohammad Suleiman has retired as the head human resource development of one of the prestigious public sector undertakings of this country by the name of Malabar Cements Limited, Kerala. He has more than 37 years of experience in the line. And he is a practitioner as well as an academician, having pursued his academic hobbies and strengths while he was in job. He has his doctorate in the field of management, He's also done law, and he specializes into industrial relations, having handled number of industrial kind of disputes and others as a mediator also. So he brings in lot of on the table in terms of trade unions, industrial relations, etc. So welcome, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, and many thanks for joining on this podium today. So friends, if you just see the diversity in terms of the panel that we have, it shows the diversity and strength of India as a country, wherein different religions, different faiths, they coexist with lot of pride and lot of gratitude towards the nation as such. And further, friends, all the three panelists, they are quite experienced in their own lines, whether it is the administrative services or the defense services or the industrial relations. While the moot question today will be what is conflict all about, how how to come about effective negotiations, what are the certain do's and don'ts, and the three panelists will share their own experience into their life, and so as to bring about more and more clarity into this topic, which is the art and science of negotiations. So not taking much long, I now request Dr. Chakrapani, the first speaker of the day, to talk about his experience in the field of negotiations. Welcome, sir, and the podium is all yours now.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Chaddha. I'm amazed at the manner in which this forum has been able to conduct almost 31 sessions so far, making a virtue of a necessity. The manner in which pandemic has restricted all our movements, I think, has been fully utilized by Dr. Sanjeev Chaddha. The only other example I can think of is the IHRDI, which has been able to organize more than 250 programs in the last 1 year, thanks to the energetic role played by the institution and its staff members. It is very interesting that a topic like this has been chosen by Dr. Sanjeev Chaddha, and I think it's very relevant. In the human history, I am convinced that conflicts are coming down. Certainly, the violence associated with conflicts also is coming down. I'm making a slightly questionable observation, but I request the other panelists and others to kindly reflect on this. The population of the world, which is around, let's say, 180 crores around the beginning of the 19th century, has already gone up to about 780 crores in a matter of less than 100 years. But if you see the last 50 to 60 years, the scale of violence, I mean, I'm talking of the global scale, I'm talking of the global situation, not with reference to any particular country, but the scale of violence is certainly coming down. We have had 2 world wars in a span of maybe less than 20 years, and luckily it's not the world wars. I think it is other disasters which have been taking a very heavy toll on human life and human effort. So I think we are probably in the right direction, but given the interaction and the enormous mobility that is taking place as between nations, I think there are various issues which we need to resolve them with a more focused and a scientific study. And I am not sure whether many of the training institutions are focusing on this in a very scientific and in a very systematic manner. I can, of course, think of one very sterling example of the Ladies Sriram College, which runs a 2-year master's program in conflict resolution. I think it's a very sterling example of one of the best girls' colleges in the country, conducting a 2-year program on conflict resolution. In fact, we have had the opportunity during my tenure as director of the Center for Innovations in Public Systems of inviting Professor Kanika Khandelwal from that college, who made an excellent presentation. And these girls from this institution go to different areas where there are conflicts, negotiations going on, and they've done a lot of good documentation. So I think that is one institution I can think of. But as Mr. Sanjeev Chaddha has made it, probably this aspect needs to be looked at with a lot of focus and attention. The conflicts can be essentially looked at from a national and a global perspective, and a perspective which is confined to organizations, probably big organizations. So these are different skills which are needed, and the skill sets need to be really refined in training institutions, and the training institutions have their hands full in this regard. I'm not sure whether the national training institutions or the ATIs are able to focus on this. I think it's time that they did. One of the major, I think all of us are human beings, essentially. And there are, as Mr. Chaddha said, there are bound to be conflicts as long as the human civilization is progressing. And in a stable society like ours, if there are no external conflicts, there are conflicts within, as between social dynamics, as between political masters, and as between different groups. And as you know, it's a very divergent society, which is constantly driven by consideration of caste, religion, region, etc. Unfortunately, in the last 30 to 40 years, those leaders who have come to the fore, I'm making a very provocative observation, it's for you to kindly consider. Those who came to the scene and who have come to occupy positions of importance in various states have done so by driving the wedge between these groups. You can look at any regional leader, and it's the same story, except perhaps the national parties. A lot of the regional parties have made use of the conflicts, and by supporting, very skillfully playing one group against the other, they've been able to capture power. It's also possibly because the kind of sterling individuals we have had immediately after independence in the first generation probably were lagging. They were not in evidence on account of the money power, the muscle power that dominates the election scene today in most parts of the country. So this is a factor that we need to understand. The first lesson we should learn to spread among the youngsters, particularly among the students, is the feeling of oneness. And I'm very happy that the Constitution has introduced a chapter called the chapter on the fundamental duties of citizens. I'm very happy that this chapter has been introduced sometime in 76, 77, and it clearly lays down what are the fundamental duties of citizens. And I'm also happy that various commissions on education have dealt with the constitutional responsibilities, the constitutionalism of a citizen. This is very, very important. So if people understand what is the constitutional duty, what is the constitutional responsibility, and how these are enunciated, and how these are also actualized in terms of various programs. As I said, Government of India's program on Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat is one of the best methods of unification. And I'm glad that Punjab and AP have started this process before the pandemic broke out. Now, once you understand, the greatest example of the unification, I think this country must acknowledge is the integration of states into this country, the integration of the princely states. The deft manner in which this was done by the then leaders, including Sardar Patel, Pandit Nehru, and a very important bureaucrat by name Mr. V.P. Menon, the then Home Secretary, who rose from the ranks of a very small railway employee to be the Home Secretary of the state. I think that itself speaks of the manner in which Indian nation as a political entity, we may have had the concept, but as a political entity, it has emerged. And I think it is to the credit of these stalwarts that this nation has taken shape. This nation has withstood all small attempts at breaking this country, and I'm sure it's going from strength after that. The other parallel that I think of is the unification of Germany. I think it will be worthwhile to look at how Germany as a country was unified in the last 20-25 years, and what aspects and who played what role, what was the role of the social thinkers, what was the role of the political leaders, what was the role of the citizens, social groups, etc. This is again a very, very important example. As you get into various institutions, I think the textbooks, the school textbooks, the college textbooks, I think do not play enough, do not devote enough of attention to conflict resolution. This is one aspect I think which we need to look at. And how do we resolve conflicts? You see, as has been already noticed, there are bound to be conflicts both in personal life and also in the social life, social and political life. To me, the best example of the first point of resolution is recognize the positive aspects of the opponent. You see, a thing which is not done by many. As you have a point of view, the opponent also has a point of view. So if you, as Mr. Chaddha said, if you do enough homework, you will recognize the positive elements in the other man's point of view, and that becomes the starting point for a meaningful and for an involved discussion. This, I think, is not done strictly legally, but in a very, very informal manner. You would have noticed that there are a lot of across the border meetings held by generals posted at the borders or the armed forces. There's a lot of normally fraternity, which I think informs their discussion. So I think to recognize the strength, I think this is one aspect which I think has to be very strongly integrated into our Indian psyche. We think that by recognizing the positive aspect of another person, something in your own self is gone. That's not true. This is what I have found in the Westerners and also in Japanese. They immediately recognize the positive elements in the other person, and that becomes a very, very strong base for us to move forward in negotiations. The second thing is, ultimately, in any conflict, we need to recognize the diversity of the population and the different conflicting interests. It's a diverse country. There are bound to be social groups. There are bound to be different economic pressure groups. We need to resolve this. And the best way to resolve this is to be transparent about your objectives. I think transparency of the stated objective, and also always have something as a fallback position. I may sound slightly autobiographical. I was collector in Nizamabad about nearly 28, 29 years back. I took charge on the 28th of November, and Babri Masjid was demolished on the 5th of, I think, December, if I remember right. Now imagine, Nizamabad is a border district between Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. Nizamabad has the tradition of some element of communal element sensitivity after Hyderabad. One of the collectors about 20 prior to that 1967, one of the best of collectors was shifted because there was communal violence in Nizamabad. Some 29 to 30 people were killed in communal clashes associated with local elections. So the moment Babri Masjid demolition took place, what we did was, the SP and myself, we opened up a dialogue with all the political parties and took them into confidence, all the political parties, including those from the minority community, and had a one-to-one meeting with all of them, one-to-one meeting with parties. And the kind of information they came up was enormous. No administrator would have been able to get that kind of information if it doesn't happen in a meeting. But in a one-to-one meeting between the SP, collector, and the political parties, they really gave out their information. They said that these are things that are being planned, these are things that need to be curbed, etc. And take it from me, both SP and collector, we went around the city, Nizamabad city, almost for 20 days during nights, and there was no incident in Nizamabad after our one-to-one meetings. And a lot of information came from those who were on the other side of the fence, those who were agitating, those who were trying to create problems, that. And I get a letter from the president of the All India Muslim League saying that thanks to the effort of the district administration, you have been able to control the situation by taking people into confidence. So an informal channel of communication with all parties to the issue is very, very important. Similarly, this is needed in industrial situation also. We should not treat the others as adversaries. They are parties to a dispute. There are positive aspects, there are perhaps aspects which are not positive. So how do we even iron out these? I think that is a skill that needs to be very strongly integrated. And unfortunately, in some cases, with all these, because of the ethnic, cultural, social dynamics, we may still not be able to resolve the issue, but a good understanding of that will be a very, very important factor. Then the third thing for an administrator, I'm talking of administrator, is a very strong political support which is necessary. I was Commissioner Intermediate Education. We tried to insist on 75% attendance on the part of all students before we gave hall tickets. I took the minister into confidence, we took the government into confidence, and I refused to give hall tickets to those who did not put in the required attendance. And the whole of the assembly was adjourned for 2 days only on this issue. But thanks to the support that we got from the political master, that's the minister and the chief minister, Dr. Y.S. Rajashekar Reddy, we were able to iron out. So on the one hand is your equation with the political master, taking him into confidence, explaining him in detail. On the other hand is opening up a channel of communication with the adversaries. And the third is, of course, your objectivity of the cause. You see, our lives are open books, particularly those of administrators and politicians. Whatever we do, and if our actions do not match with our words, I don't think there will be any meaningful result. So the study of the strength of the person sitting on the other side, respecting their point of view, starting with their strengths, getting political support, particularly for administrators, understanding the psyche of individuals, and having immense faith in the innate goodness of human beings. I think these are the elements that will help us in ensuring that conflicts do get resolved. And take it from me, I have looked at the statistics of the National Bureau of Crime Records. Violence, the organized violence is certainly getting reduced. In my childhood, both in my school and college, the colleges, the classes were being closed at the drop of a hat. I don't think it's happening now. There is a recognition, there is a realization that the collective good is in ensuring that the system, that the institutions function, and that everybody gets the benefit out of this. So these are the observations I thought I would share with you. Any of suggestions, comments are most welcome as we go along in the discussion. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the efforts you are making, Mr. Chaddha, in a very sustained manner. Wonderful effort.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for you sharing your experience. And I think in very simple and illustrative manner, you have given food of thought of how conflicts will come about and how they can be solved. And I mean, it's not a rocket science. I mean, you just to implement this, and they can be implementable. Now, I welcome Colonel Chima to be on the podium and the dais and share his experiences with our august audience. Colonel Chima, the podium is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Chaddha, Sanjeev ji. Thank you so much. Once again, good afternoon. If there's a lady, I don't see any lady, but all ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you once again. All right. First and foremost, Dr. Chakrapani, may I have your permission to slightly differ and disagree on a particular point, if you don't mind? You see, we are living in wonderful and amazing times. These are the best of the times as well as the worst of the times. I do believe that in such turbulent, times, the conflicts have not gone down, but they are not coming up because of the deterrence which has been generated and created by various nations. At national level, it is so. Because of the deterrence which has been created, the conflicts are not coming out in the open. They are simmering, they are put under the carpet, but they are actually not coming up. So that was one of the observations. With due apologies to Dr. Chakrapani, I hope you understand my point of view. Right. You see, I also believe that each one of us is living by selling in inverted commas and negotiating. These are the two things which are happening every moment, every day, whether the child does it with the mother or the student does it with the teacher or the employee does it with the employer. All kinds of, the selling and the other negotiating thing is always happening. I will come to the well-known and recognized and accepted 6 paradigms of human interaction, which are given by the great man Stephen Covey, and everyone knows about that. I will touch upon few of those things and see that how they impact our lives today. The first is, of course, win-lose strategy. We all know that since our childhood, all of us have been conditioned, trained, and even scripted to win. Who doesn't want to win? Everyone wants to win. Nobody in the, a sensible person will like to lose. Now, we've been told that I have to get through in the interview, I must go through IIT or IIM entrance exam, and I must make it in the first attempt, and I am a better son if I, do better in studies than my younger or elder brother, all kinds of things. Competition in the academic world is very well known, and all of us have gone through that cycle. So we are all tuned and conditioned and scripted to win. Now there are certain situations where it is very clear that it has to be win. Think about a war. In war, when you say nishte kar apni jeet karo, no, there is no other option. It is not win lose. It is only win. Either you win or you die. So it has to be that. Similarly, where there is no trust, where distrust exists to that level that there is no question of losing, there are certain situations. You know, where somebody asked me once that which is the best negotiation, strategy. It depends. It depends. Like, for example, in relationship, you may very happily lose and let the other person win. Ask a boy or a girl who are in love, both of them will like to lose. So it depends what kind of situation you are, that the winning and losing. But there is no doubt about it that in winning strategy, it is either my way or highway. I will win. I want to win. I am conditioned to win and I am not going to lose. That is my strategy. Now, when we talk about, see, win-win, everyone knows that it is the best strategy. Win-win is, when Dr. Chakrapani talked about the other person's point of view, I call it OPV, other person's view. That is a very, very important thing. There is no doubt about it. But in win-win strategy, there are human emotions that play, human emotions. It is not your way or my way and highway. It is the better way or higher way. Win-win is the better or the higher way which must be. And so many emotions. We all know that a normal, healthy human being gets 40,000 to 50,000 thoughts, feelings, emotion in 24 hours. We speak about 16,000 words in 24 hours. Now, we express them in different ways and means. Now, all the emotions, whether it is empathy or it is the hate or, all kinds of things, they are part of our negotiation and daily dealing with others when we deal with others, isn't it? Professional dishonesty, for example, when at the organization level, in organization, you are representing a particular organization and the other party is from a different organization, obviously, and you are negotiating. Now, in such negotiations, it is often seen that professional dishonesty also creeps in and certain people give way purposely. Or, I read one of the case histories that the Japanese purposely sent a man initially, in the initial few minutes, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, they sent a man who was very aggressive, very abusive, and, he was not decent man to deal with. After some time, they sent another person who was just opposite of that. The idea was that the opposition party has seen the worst, and now when they see a better version of the same offer, they are likely to accept it. For example, you tell a patient goes to the doctor and doctor says, okay, all right, take this bitter medicine and after that, take a spoon of brandy. Now, next day when the doctor went to see that patient had finished the brandy, but the bitter medicine was still there. The point is that you give the bitter medicine and after that, now this is a strategy certain people will adopt. This is what I call professional dishonesty. This is not, you see, the honesty of purpose. Unless both the parties recognize the honesty of the purpose, there is empathy involved, there is compassion, and of course, humility and ego, which I call everyone has got one. That is why it is ego. Now that ego and arrogance, another point which I am very fond of, and that is the positional power and personal power. Most of the people, when they have the positional power, they are able to push their way through. They are able to handle the thing the way they want it. They have the majority, they have the authority, they have the power. And they are in that particular position that they can use that power. Now, when they leave that power, or when they are not in that power, what is the respect and what is the kind of dignity which they command from others, that is what is personal power. And to my mind, personal power is far more powerful, and it gives you lot strength as compared to your positional power. Position power is, see, another thing, friends, which I want to share with you is that all of us, whenever we negotiate for anything, obviously we want our best. We want the best thing to come to us. We develop a logic bubble around our personality. Logic bubble is that I am able to justify anything wrong with whatever I think is right. I know that I am wrong, but my ego doesn't permit me to accept that. I must somehow justify it. Now, what is that? I must develop a logic bubble around me and try and justify I did this because this happened. And you have your own logic, and you try to convince the others with that kind of logic, which does not really work. You see, if you do not have the courage of conviction, your own conviction, if I want to sell this pen for 20 rupees and I know that it is worth just 5 rupees, I don't have the conviction. I may be able to sell a couple of pens, but I won't be able to really develop my business and grow. Another aspect which I believe is the attitude of abundance and attitude of scarcity. Attitude of abundance is like Mahatma Gandhi used to say very often. He used to say that there is enough for everyone's need, but there is not enough for everyone's greed. Need and greed. Now, both the parties have to understand that there is enough space and there is enough profits or enough whatever we are wanting to share. There is enough, and both the parties can be benefited if we come to some kind of agreement. You see, in generally most people who are not aware of the process of negotiation, they confuse negotiation with bargaining. Now, bargaining is in bad connotation. It is considered bad. Bargaining is not good. But negotiation is, as a matter of fact, reconciliation, agreement, settlement. It is a positive thing. Now, we have to understand that you are negotiating to come to some kind of sensible solution. And for that, you must have, your logic bubble must be pricked. Before the other one pricks it, you prick it yourself and accept it. So, the attitude of abundance, there is enough for us to share. The other is, the attitude of scarcity. कि अगर ये ले गया तो मेरा क्या होगा? How will I win and how will I get my profit, my shares? 30% of this is going to so and so. I'll be left only with this. That kind of attitude of scarcity. That attitude of scarcity is, Other thing I feel which is very important in any negotiating situation when you are sitting across the table is to remain or keep your sense of humor. In most difficult times, negotiations are difficult times. There is no doubt about it. I mean, when you are negotiating, obviously there is a conflict and you are wanting to resolve that. And it is a difficult situation. In difficult situation also, if you have the strength of your character to stand up and laugh and smile and even at oneself, like the Sardarjis do or even Gujaratis do, they, Baba log, that is the Parsis, they do, they are ready to laugh at themselves. Now, the point I am making is that keeping cool, remaining balanced and calm, even in the worst of the negotiating situation, is very, very important. Here I want to share with you something. Most of us must have heard about, this man, Cicero, Roman poet and philosopher. He, in 2000 years back, he gave 6 mistakes which people generally make. 2 of them are now applicable to our negotiation subject. One is, he said, the mistake is that we think, most of the people think that I can win only by crushing somebody else. I can win only by crushing or harming somebody else. I cannot win unless I harm the other person. And the second is that I think the other person should also think the way I think. I want the other person to think the way I think. That is not possible. We are all unique human beings. Dr. Chakrapani talked about 780 crore people. Each one is absolutely unique. Where is the idea? Where is the chance of any two individual beings psychologically exactly the same? Not possible at all. So under these circumstances, under this situation, you must be careful, and the empathy and compassion, as see, this is character. I always talk about certain values of character. Humility, for example. You think that people like Narayana Murthy, who touched the feet of Ratan Tata, did not negotiate and did not come out as a winner out of most of the negotiations? He did. IHRDI Tata, very humble man. There are a lot of stories which I can share about that, but time doesn't permit. So I am talking about patience. Patience. Now, listening to the other point of view, and even Stephen Covey says that understanding the other's point of view first and then expecting the other person to understand your point of view. As a matter of fact, if I am able to understand the other person's point of view, I will have everything with me to counter it, and I'll be in a better position to counter it. See, I as an army man think that if I have got enough ammunition from the other person, it will be easier for me to shoot. So, a crude example, but in any case, the point is that if I have given the opportunity to the other person to speak and say whatever the person wants to say, I would be better prepared to share what I want to share. And maybe I would be able to win over the argument because of that only, because I gave the opportunity to the other person to. Now, a few of the examples which I would like to quote about. Of course, the first example is of Gandhi ji. He was a very tough negotiator, to my mind. You see, the present generation of leaders of opposition may call him Chatur Baniya or whatever they want to call him. The fact is that he was a very tough negotiator, and the way he negotiated, you talk about any round table conference, and you know, he frustrated those people, the British. He frustrated those people, and they were all, you know, they ultimately had to listen to this man. So he was one of the best negotiators we had. 1971 war. It's a classic example. Lot has been written on this 1971 war. And as a army person, I should be talking about the negotiations which went into at that point of time. All of us know, and most of us think, and maybe it is right, that Bhutto was too shrewd and too clever, and he tricked Madam Gandhi into accepting what he offered. No, this is the point of view which is written in most of the books, and which is the most intelligentsia of the country also felt that time, and even now feel that Bhutto was too shrewd a man and too clever, and he tricked Madam Gandhi into accepting what he offered. This argument that since 93,000 prisoners of war, we can't feed them, it doesn't, to my mind, it is not a very sensible, and this was the argument given by the official the government spokesperson at that point of time, that because a poor country like ours, as a matter of fact, 1971 was the time when we were opening up and everything was coming back to, in our hands, and the things were improving. Now, that time, handing over 93,000 soldiers of the Pakistan army back to them without extracting sufficient and good and positive and sustainable concessions, that my humble view as a junior retired army officer, that it was a bad negotiation, and it has bothered us all as a nation. We are paying for that even today. I want to share one example of good negotiation. See, in 1982, a plane going from Delhi to Hyderabad was hijacked. And this, the person who hijacked, later on it came to light that he was a poor boy from Haryana, some village in Haryana, and he went into the cockpit of the plane and said that take the plane to Islamabad. The Nawaz Sharif's government refused to let it land. Then he said take it to Lahore. They were not permitted. Then the pilot told him, the hijacker, that we are not left with any more fuel and we will all die. So tell me, what can I do? So ultimately the plane was came to Amritsar. Now Amritsar, KPS Gill was the DGP at that time. KPS Gill took a helicopter and came to the tarmac of the this plane where the plane was. 2.5 hours of negotiation. It is recorded. This man with a mic in his hand next to the tarmac sitting there, he kept talking, drinking water and tea, and kept talking to that man for 2.5 hours. And after 2.5 hours, he took out his white shirt and came out of the plane and surrendered. I mean, it is a different story that the man got life term. And, but the fact is that patience and understanding the psyche of the other person, understanding KPS Gill could make it out from his conversation that he is a North Indian, less educated, crude kind of man, and he couldn't be having pistols and bombs and whatever he is claiming. So he kept insisting on that, and after 2.5 hours, the chap surrendered. Now, patience, understanding the other man's point of view. And that person was only agitated. He said the government is not doing enough for the poor. We poor are not getting employment. This is the problem, that is the problem. And KPS Gill promised him that I totally agree with your point of view. And that was the fact, that he was unemployed and he was agitated. He didn't know what to do, and that was his state of mind. KPS Gill promised him that your point of view will go to the right to the top man in this country. And maybe he did. Now, another thing is the present China-India stalemate, whatever is happening. Let me share with you, friends. I'm sure you know a lot about the 1962. I am writing, somebody has asked me to write a book on that episodes. Sorry, state of affairs of that time. While preparing for that, I found out a lot of information. Chinese from 1949, when the PLA was created, that is the time when they thought that they are going to invade India and they want to have Arunachal Pradesh as their part of the country. Now, since 1949-50, they waited for 12 years. 1959, Chow and Lai came to India. As you know, 1962, October 20 was the date when we were, invaded. Now, in November 1959, Chow and Lai, the Prime Minister of China, came to India and offered certain, negotiations. Those negotiations unfortunately failed because of Krishna Menon, who was really not, he was the defense minister. Unfortunately, that failed. We will not go into detail why it failed, but unfortunately it failed. Now, and after those negotiations, Chow and Lai, in an interview with one of the foreign journalists, he made that statement, and that statement is available with me. He said that Nehru wants to control the entire world. India needs to be taught a lesson very soon. In 1959, November, he made a statement openly. It was published, India needs to be taught a lesson. Now, we did not learn a lesson from that in 1959. That 1962 wouldn't be there if 1959 we had taken this statement very seriously. The point I am making is that today's, my humble view, if we think that we'll tire the Chinese down, this stalemate will continue and the Chinese will go back and things like that, it will not happen, because they can wait for years and years. You read their history, they have waited for years to do whatever they want to do. So we have to keep this at the back of our mind. And now, last but not the least, I must make a mention of the farmers' agitation. You see, we have had 9 rounds of meeting between the Chinese and the Indian diplomats and soldiers at different levels, army commanders and corps commanders and things like that. And we also have had, coincidentally, 9 such meetings with the farmers also. If when the negotiations or when the talks break down, obviously, there is something wrong somewhere. Now, if you really want to resolve a problem, to my way of looking at it, again, a very humble opinion of this soldier, that the talks must begin immediately, as early as possible. Every minute delay in the talks with the farmers by the government, for whatever reason, I mean, they know it better, that is causing anxiety, worry, pain, all kinds of things to the farmers, of course, and slowly and steadily the common man is also trying to join this kind of thing. So my view is that such negotiations must not break. Most of the problems of the world, friends, are either there is no communication or there is a bad communication. Either no communication or bad communication. So bad communication has to be taken into account. One has to be careful how to go about this. And see, in these times, I think negotiation is, like Dr. Chakrapani said, sir, you are absolutely right. This subject has to be taught in a systematic manner to all the students, not only of management. I think beyond the class of, say, 10th or 12th or something, in graduation or everywhere, this is something which everyone must know. This is a fundamental, this is basic human relations. Basics of human relations, like computer today, or basic of bit of economics. All this has to be understood. Thank you so much. I would now leave it to Dr. Chaddha, Sanjeev ji. I have finished. I mean, what time I was allotted, I think I will end it.
Thank you so much, Colonel Chima, for bringing about very interesting facts from very diverse speakers and philosophers like Stephen Covey, and then talking about what is a good negotiation, what's a not so good negotiation, and enlightening us about the 1971 war, and then now China also. So thanks a lot for joining and enlightening our audience on this. So now, not taking much time, I request Dr. Muhammad.
Great. Doubt your statement,
I request Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, to take the podium and to talk about his own experiences. Yeah, welcome,
Can
Dr.
you hear me? Yeah, thank you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Whether you are running the slides or I can run the slides. I will run the slides.
Yes, you kindly run at your own end. You present and then run.
Yeah, ready, sir. Given the run button. Otherwise, can you run the slides, sir? So I will explain.
Sir, actually, I have not downloaded. That's
okay.
Yeah, please.
I will manage. Okay, thank you for giving this opportunity, sir. So I will share few experiences, and before that, I will explain about the slides also. What is negotiation? Negotiation is an interactive process between two or more negotiators or parties seeking to find common ground on issues of mutual interest, where the negotiators or parties seek to make a mutually acceptable agreement that will be honored by all. So negotiation, let us never negotiate out of fear, but let's not fear to negotiate. So this is a common theory, and need not explain because all are very well aware of the positives and negative side of the negotiation. Next one. main objective is to list out the example that require successful negotiation skills in your personal and professional life. To explain the elements of successful negotiation, to describe the barriers to successful negotiation. So there are certain barriers. Similarly, what are the main elements of successful negotiation? Preparation. Preparation is the key. Setting goals and limits. So we have to understand our goals and limits. Communication skill. Communication is very important. Sometimes we may fail in proper communication. Automatically it will result in stress and lockout. So communication is an important element in the successful negotiation. Listening skills. That is require patience. Listen to others. Sometimes we are occupying a big position. We are negotiating with the trade unions. They are not educated people. So sometimes we will lose our temper. In that scenario, listening skill is very important. Similarly, the importance of clarity. So we have to explain what is our goal or what is our limit. So what is our proposal and offer. So we have to make them, we have to clarify them in a proper way. Then only they can understand what is our view. Understanding body language. Sometimes it is very important. So a gesture, our body language will create unnecessary scenes. So sometimes other party who is dealing with you, they will take some anger because of our body language. So that also very important. Next one, emotional control. All are having emotions, positive emotions and negative emotions. Sometimes we may lose our temper. So that is why the emotional control is very important. Then final negotiation, closing the deal. We should understand a person should negotiate with the other party. Then he should understand where he has to start and where he has to finish the deal. Go to next. Communication skill. It is a very important barrier to negotiation. Sometimes communication of wrong communication will create a bad situation, and sometimes it may lead to a big industry dispute. So that is why the communication plays a big position in a part of negotiation. A successful communication requires active listening, open two-way communication, clarity, understanding and being understood, ability to correct, interpret body language, win-win strategies and tactics. So these are all common to for any negotiation. Then only we can get a proper result. Otherwise, a party will win, other party will lose. Sometimes it may lead to industrial unrest, conflict. Sometimes it may be gone to labor court, industrial tribunal likewise. So that situation we should not create. A negotiator must understand what is his priorities. Go to next. Clarity. Emphasizing the reason in the past 3 months we have lost our 4 technologies to local community hospitals. So this is only one example. Go to next. What is win-win negotiation? Careful exploration of the both your own position and that of your opposite number in order to find out a mutually acceptable outcome that gives you both as much as that you want as possible. That is comfortable outcome for both. So this is the situation when you are negotiating with one party, almost no one will ready to lose their negotiation because both the parties want to win. So that is why a win-win situation is liked by both parties. Otherwise, a loser will approach the court of law. So that is why the statute has created a lot of avenues or priorities. If in the event of any failure of negotiation, the other party can approach labor court, arbitration. This depends upon the size of the issue, size of the industry, and whether it is a big issue or a small issue. It depends upon the situation where we are going to negotiate with the other party. So emotional control, it is occupying a very high position in the art of negotiation. Emotional control distance, understand your personal strength and weaknesses. First of all, we have to understand what is our strength and what is our weakness. Identify your hot buttons and know how to control them. Call for a time of whether necessary to navigate call of the time where whatever necessary to maintain control and confidence everyday negotiation, navigating the hidden agendas in the bargaining. Express enthusiasm but not expense of the others. Be assertive, not aggressive. Learn to deal with the frustration and discouragement. Learn to deal with the difficult people. So these are all part of the emotional control. So when you are a good negotiator, you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses. Then only you are become a good negotiator. Without any proper preparation, you should not start the negotiation. Principles of win-win negotiation. Principles of win-win negotiation. Separate people from the problem. Focus on interest, not positions. Invent options for mutual gain. Use objective criteria. Know your BATNA. It is best alternative to negotiated agreement. So win-win negotiation is having an important position. Otherwise, you will not. Sometimes you may think that I am sacrificing the interest of the company because you are representing HR manager is representing the company. Other side, top union leaders are representing their unions. So a big industrial dispute may be sometimes if you are having some liberal ideas and total and concentration and understand your weakness and everything, then only you can identify a solution. So that is why you want to create the win-win situation. So sometimes you may liberally give them to the other party. So that is possible. Collective bargaining. Next one is collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is probably the most effective method of resolving industrial disputes. Methods of settling industrial disputes are: it is a part of collective bargaining code of discipline, grievance procedure, arbitration, conciliation and adjudication, consultative machinery, approach to collective bargaining. Approach to collective bargaining is the process to social change. As a peace treaty between the consulting parties, as a system of industrial jurisprudence. So this is all familiar to all. So that is why I am not going into details. It's essential skills to turn conflict into a constructive tool for individuals and company success. Create and maintain a bond with your adversary. So that is very important. So we cannot treat them as friends, not as adversaries. Then only you can bargain with them, sit with them for many hours for negotiation. Sometimes it may take 2 or 3 sittings. Sometimes it may take months. Sometimes it may take years. So it is depends upon the size of the industry and the issue of the big issue or small issue. So it is depends upon the parties. Sometimes you are dealing with a salary revision. So it is a big issue because it involves crores of rupees. If you settle anything, you have to give crores of rupees to the workers. So that is why it will take lot of time and lot of homework. So that is why you have to maintain a good bond with your adversary. That establish a dialogue for conflict negotiation. Always you cannot break at any point. Then only you can continue the dialogue. Otherwise, it will become a conflict negotiation. Put the fish on the table. So you can offer, and in the meantime, you cannot walk out because you are the management representative. You are having plenty of options. Management will support you. But even after, you have to be patient. Keep in mind the cause of the conflict. So we have to, because trade unions are mostly uneducated people. Their leaders are coming outside mostly for negotiations. Whenever you are you are having an issue of big industrial dispute, automatically internal trade union people will engage the outsiders. Their trade union, because trade union law 1926 permits, if 7 people are joined together, they can register a trade union, and office bearer can be from outside also. So that is why the most of the trade unions affiliated with the national parties or national trade affiliated trade union unions, The internal trade, the unit trade unions will always affiliated to national or state-wise trade unions. So the mostly trade union leaders are very wise. They are knowledgeable persons also. So we have to keep it in mind, the cause of the conflict. Then reciprocity works. So always you have to reciprocate the other party. Nature and positive relation through the of the conflict. Go to next. Final negotiation and closing the deal. A win-win. Relays each side accepting responsibility for achieving their own interest. Subjective perception, release on honesty and respect. A successful negotiator recognizes when to close the deal or walk away from negotiations. Once an agreement has to be reached, the negotiator should briefly summarize the discussion and conclude the meeting. In the event of failure of the negotiated settlement, the Industrial Dispute Act 1947 provides the machinery for settlement. Under Section 3, Works Committee, Section 4, Conciliation Officers, Section 5, Arbitration, Section 6, Consultative Machinery, Section 7, Labor Code, and 9A, Notice of Change, then 21, 22, Strikes and Lockout, then Unfair Labor Practices, and likewise. So many provisions are made in the Industrial Dispute Act. Similarly, Indian Constitution also provides legal support to the litigants under the Article 14, 19, 21, 226 and 32. 226 is the article mainly deals with the high courts. Important cases settled during my tenure, I will explain. I will share my experience. During my tenure, I had settled so many important cases and after the negotiations with my unions. There was a big case of wage revision. So that was in our company, it is affiliated to Cement Wage Board, because almost all the cement companies in India, their salary is governed by the Cement Wage Board Award. Cement Wage Board Award consisting two categories of employees. One is staff category, otherwise other side is worker category. It is having so many categories, starting from grade E to grade 7. So what is the demand of the unions was? Their main complaint was every 4 years the wage board is revising their salary, but at minimum level. So that is why they are aggrieved. So that is why they approached the management to cancel the wage board, to cancel the application of the wage board, and they want to switch over to state salary. So our management also very magnanimous, and even they are ready to settle the dispute. But after the plenty of negotiations, there were so many deadlocks in the discussions, because every 5 years we have to give a grade. For example, a man appointed in grade E, it is the category is called Mastoor. He will get his next higher grade only after 5 years. Similarly, in the staff category, if an employee is appointed in the helper category, it is grade E, he will be promoted as a peon if he is having qualification of at least 10th, that is SLC. So the union's demand is, when an employee has completed 5 years of experience, automatically he is eligible next higher grade. But the wage board initially dealing with this matter, wage board has not given any promotion to some post, specifically electricians, masons, masonry. So there is no promotion for them. Drivers. A man joined as a driver, retired as a driver. So this is the pathetic situation, pathetic condition incorporated in the wage boards. So that is why the unions want to switch over to state board. After the 6 months of negotiation, the management approved the wage revision to the employees. After that, what happened, we are a public sector. We are having a body, higher body, it is called board of directors. The matter was placed before the board of directors, and the chairman was started raising objection, because once you switch over to wage board to state salary, the company has to pay more than 10 crores. So that is why he raised objection. After that, trade unions approached the ministry. Minister spoke to chairman. Chairman consented. Finally, the matter was referred to the government by the board of directors. What happened, the government also, so many formalities are there. First, the file went to industries department. After the clearance of industry secretary, it went to finance secretary. Then finance secretary marked to law secretary. Then law secretary sent to chief secretary. Ultimately, they have to place before the cabinet for approval. So it went another 6 months. What happened, in the meantime, there was a revision from the wage board. Now the trade unions want to restore the cement wage board alone. They don't want state salary because cement wage board has given more salary now, because already 1 year is over. So this type of plenty of negotiations and formalities has taken lot of time. Ultimately, government given approval, but trade unions don't want to switch over to state wage board, state salary. So that was a situation created because of the lot of time spent for negotiation and complying the formalities. So that was the one case. Still the matter is pending because the government has already given approval. So there is a legal problem in that issue. After the government approval, the only way is the unions has to approve approach the High Court and get a favorable verdict from the High Court, because government has given approval. So they cannot go back to wage board award because they are getting more benefits through wage board, because unions only initiated this process. So this type of negotiations going for years, it will create a lot of unrest among the people, and it will lead to go slow. Sometimes it may lead to strike and everything. So this was my one experience. In another time, there was a bonus issue. The employees always think that if the company got profit 10 crores this year, so entire profit can be shared as bonus. They don't bother about set on and set off, allocable surplus or available surplus, whatever it is. Their thing, available surplus is entire. There it is to be allotted for giving bonus. So that is why there was a dispute. Finally, we try to make them understand so many issues are there. We cannot straight away approve entire money for giving bonus as they demanded. So that is why we have engaged finance people to explain them what are the priorities. So we have to pay income tax and we have to allot funds for next year's running, so capital budgeting and everything. So that is why you are eligible only 20% maximum bonus. But government is allocating every year 8.33 only, based on their salary and attendance and everything. So if an employee eligible to get bonus, at least they require 240 working days. So that is important. Whenever, if an employee not having that much working day is not eligible to get the bonus. So after the negotiation, the management given 50% bonus can be given if an employee completed 180 days of attendance, and proportionately we can deduct the bonus. So that settlement we have arrived. So in that scenario, every year the employees are demanding bonus, but every 5 years the government is increasing the ceiling of the bonus. Now it is about 30,000 now. So that is the most of the employees are coming out of the bonus ceiling. So they are now eligible to get ex gratia only. So that is why we have discussed with the unions, and we are giving bonus to eligible employees the maximum 20%. Then 20% can be given as a performance incentive. In that way, we have settled the issue. Every year, even we are giving ex gratia to officers also, not to the workers alone. So likewise, we are settling the disputes. If you are having good relationship with the trade unions, we can settle any industrial dispute. Otherwise, it will be marked to you can refer the matter to the government, then government will refer the matter as industrial dispute. Then an employee has to approach the labor court, industrial tribunal, then national tribunal. Likewise, it depends upon the size of the industrial dispute. It will take years. Sometimes it is a lifetime affair. We are dealing with the PF cases and gratuity cases. My experience, it is around 35 cases are pending in the RGLC and district labor officer level. 35 cases are pending because they were the employees, they belongs to Badalis, that is casual laborers. They are having continuous service more than 5 years and 10 years, 20 years, 30 years likewise. After their completion of the service, they retired from the service. After that, they filed a petition before the district labor officer and demanding the gratuity. So the Gratuity Act says 5 years continuous service is required. What happened, my predecessors did not cut their 2 days service after 180 days or 240 days. So that is why it leads to a continuous service. They are demanding gratuity. Ultimately, the government also, in support of the labor, they directed the management to give gratuity to them. But our management, they are not ready to give gratuity. Finally, the matter was referred as an industrial dispute. Now the matter is pending with the labor commissioners. So that is why whenever the negotiations are failed, it may lead to industrial dispute. That is why the government has enacted a lot of laws under various statutes, and support of the statutory support is there, but it will take years. So these are the issues. So many other issues also we are confronting. Even we are having a contract society. Every year we have to give them contract for supplying labor supplies. So there are also so many disputes there. If you are whenever the matter will come to human resource manager first, then after preliminary negotiation, they will approach the managing director. Then managing director will conduct so many sittings with the trade unions and society people. Then only we can finalize these issues. So in that way, negotiation helps us to settle the industrial dispute at the unit level and government level and DLO level and ALO and DLO level. But easy method is unit level. If you are having courage and patience and proper good relations with the union, you can definitely negotiate and reach a negotiated settlement. So likewise, the negotiation playing an important part in the industrial setup. With this, I will conclude my presentation, and I hope I shared my views. So I thank you. Thanks. I extend my thanks to Dr. Chaddha and IHRD team for giving me this opportunity.
Right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Suleiman, and special thanks to you because I see you are traveling and you are speaking from your vehicle as such. And
yes, sir.
Such a short.
I'm attending marriage now.
yeah, such short notice. And
so that is I don't want to skip the program.
Yeah, you talked about very interesting case studies. I would request you to have them documented because that will be creating wealth of knowledge and information. Because over the 37 years you've been at the Malabar Cements Limited, you must have handled so many of them. So
Yes, sir.
we were discussing with Dr. Chakrapani also that, you know, if we can have these documented, so this wealth of information and knowledge could be used for the future generations also.
Sure,
So
sure.
again, thank you so much.
I will start a
Now
papers
the
case
house,
studies, sir.
yeah, the house is open for discussions. Dr. Surendra Sharma, they wanted to say something. You have a question, kindly, you know, you may please ask your question. Dr. S.K. Sharma.
You have to unmute yourself, sir, Mr. Sharma.
Dr. Sharma, please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Ji.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, there are basically three reasons for any conflict or say dispute to arise. They are Zar, Zoru, and Jameen. Land, property, or a woman. They are the three things which lead to whether it be at the national level, international level, at an institutional level. Main thing is for resolving major conflicts, and we have expert negotiators like our Colonel Chima talked about, say, Mr. KPS Gill, who was a very good negotiator. And similarly for hijacking, we had a very good negotiation in next plane hijacking also, which landed in Lahore. Similarly, on a second, say, level, we have more than 3 crore cases pending in various courts, out of which there may be 1 crore criminal cases, but other 2 crore, they can be settled by they are languishing in the courts merely because people have longer nose, their respect or zar is at stake. कि मैं अपनी मूछ जो है वो नीचे नहीं होने दूंगा, इसलिए जो है अगर वो हम उनको सेंसिटाइज कर लें, it is for the journal masses that they need to be sensitized, who can come to the negotiating table. They can bring people to the negotiating table and settle those smaller disputes, but otherwise the courts will remain flooded and cluttered with the pendency of the cases. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for your viewpoints.
Courtly and settlement again or
arbitration.
Allala. Court
Mediation.
Mediation.
Intermediation.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
so, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Dr. Saibi, there was a question that you raised in the chat box. Would you like to ask, Dr. Saibi?
Thank you, Professor Chaddha. My question was that usually the dispute arises with the issue of sharing. That I am from the environment and the forest, and we deal with the many rights and privileges given to the people. So people are having rights in certain forests, but usually there are many projects, World Bank project, Asian Development project. There are many projects which are going on. Be it well some assets. Then the people who do not enjoy the rights in that particular forest, then it becomes a matter of negotiation. So the people, the negotiation plays a big tool there. So once we start negotiation, that it is not a one-time job. We have to sit with them for number of days, maybe for months together. Then only things materialize. But usually it happens when the things grow. When we have a biomass, things grow. Then again, the heart burning of the people who do not have access to those privileges, they start and coming and doing dismantling of the things. So for that matter, what is the procedure? How to proceed further? Once the negotiation has been settled, that it becomes a long process. That was my issue.
Yeah, Dr. Chakrapani, would you like to answer?
Yeah. See, yes. The point I think is well taken. The point which Dr. Sahib is mentioning. in any project where there is a land or other assets which are proposed to be taken over for the sake of the project, is a detailed process. The process envisages the preparation of a project report, and the project report mentions the level and the extent of entitlement of various stakeholders. Now the question is, who are all the stakeholders? Now those are not the stakeholders, as he rightly said. They enter into some kind of a negotiation. Any project, as you are aware, also goes through the process of the preparation of environmental and social impact of that project. The environmental and social impact of that project is again assessed by experts, and they document all the stakeholders, their rights, their eligibility, etc. Now, all this is a very detailed process, but there is no escape from going through the very detailed, in some cases, very tortuous process. Some of you may recollect that the Sardar Sarovar and Narmada Nigam projects in Gujarat were delayed by over 10 to 12 years because of the environmental issues, because of the stakeholder claims, the matter being taken up to the Supreme Court, the World Bank appointing a committee called the Morse Committee, which made its recommendation. So these things do happen. But unfortunately, the project preparation in most of the cases, I have also seen, is done by people in a certain amount of a hurry. The stakeholders' claims are not comprehensively and in a detailed manner documented. So this is where it creates a problem. And where it creates a problem, even after the environmental impact assessment, environment and social impact assessment, the political masters do intervene, and some of them are of course liberal, because ultimately they are the people who have to face the consequences. It does take a lot of time. I fully agree, and particularly when it concerns the issue of taking away the assets of people who have been traditionally enjoying them, like in the tribal areas, the tribal rights, the land transfer regulations, and the mining facilities, which are very often explored. There is a human element, and it is in those cases that the social activists do come in and try to probably focus on the issues. In some cases, a little stretched, but there's no escape from going through that. The environment and social impact assessment reports will have to factor these into them, and then the governments of the day, when they negotiate with funding agencies or negotiate with institutions which are likely to support them, I think will have to factor their interests also before they arrive upon the final allocation.
Thank you.
One point which I thought I would also share is that a lot of opportunities, number of opportunities are also being lost. I mentioned this in passing yesterday in my discussion with Dr. Sanjeev Chaddha. A number of tribunals, they carry out very detailed arbitration or adjudication. Unfortunately, the detailed reports of those tribunals are not studied adequately by the concerned organizations or departments. Right now, there are a number of water disputes tribunals. As you know, water is a major point of contention as between states and areas within the state. So if one goes through the proceedings of these water dispute tribunals, I think it will be a very, very comprehensive information, and I think we are losing a lot by not documenting it, by not sensitizing the functionaries in a particular department, by not creating a documentation center within each organization for taking care of the future requirements. Any ultimately the interests of any group or area is best served by the arguments that are put forth at the time of adjudication. And the persons who are making their claims, or persons presenting the issues before the tribunals are not properly equipped, I think there are bound to be issues. So I think each department, each sector organization would have to prepare its documentation in a fairly comprehensive manner. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing answer to this. It was a difficult question, but you gave a very comprehensive solution with example. So any other question somebody would like to ask from the audience?
They are not already hungry.
Yeah. So I think we have also crossed the time limit. So friends, thank you so much. Just summing it up, the conflicts, as we know, they are inevitable. They are bound to happen, especially when the audience you have, when the various stakeholders you have, they are enlightened enough. They have different opinions, and generally it should be considered to be a good way. Because more the opinions, the more enlightened the citizens are, the more enlightened the stakeholders are, the more growth and development it will go around as such. And now it has been clearly understood throughout the human history that democracy is one of the best way of managing political and a social institution. So friends, the various processes of like science of negotiations came around that you should listen to the stakeholders, you should speak to them, communication channels should be open, and apart from formal communication channel, if you can have informal channels which could be opened, they could help you out. And this negotiation is a long drawn process. It could be over in a day's time, or it could be over in a maybe a month's time, or even sometimes years time. But that persistence has to go by. And the three very important aspects, while negotiating is that there should be fairness and transparency in the system. There should be a respect for both the stakeholders, or if there are number of stakeholders, then respect for all the stakeholders. And we should try to come out with a solution which is more synergistic in nature, meaning thereby it is beneficial to all the stakeholders and brings about a win-win situation kind of this. And the kind of trust which is required for negotiation, as Dr. Mohammad Sulman and Colonel Chima and Dr. Chakrapani also talked about, that various successful negotiations only happen if there is trust as such, and it is considered to be, especially you will have more of conflicting situations in the country. So we have to see that all the stakeholders are our own, and they may have certain problems because of certain issues, and how to resolve these issues. And one more suggestion that came by Dr. Chakrapani also and Mohammad Salmanji also, that whatever has been done has been not been documented. Somehow if this could be documented and brought about, and this could be a part of trainings in all ATIs for all police people, all administrative and all defense people as such, and even for the students, it will be good. And some courses like Lady Sri Ram College of Commerce is running, if they could be brought, because we have people from Punjab University and other universities also. So if this could, if such programs could be on the university list also, so that could be actually beneficial to the entire society and to the mankind. So friends, with these words, I thank all of you to be there, the three panelists, elite panelists, Dr. Chakrapani, Dr. Colonel Chima, Dr. Mohammad Suleiman, who came out on such a short notice and brought about such enlightenment on the very complicated issues. The august audience who is there with us since last 31 weeks as such now, without a break, and on Sundays especially, salute to all of you. The IHRDI team comprising of Sanya, JPS Talwar, Dr. SK Sharma, Dr. Mohammad Suleiman, Dr. Saibi, Jeet Kumar Gupta ji, who supports and help us out on various topics, issues, and even work from the background to come out with what we dish out every week. So friends, just two requests. One, the e-certificate will be available So kindly, the feedback forms that we'll be sending you across to you, kindly fill up these feedback forms. Those who have joined for the first time and there, you can just take a number 8727857116. I repeat, 8727857116. Just say a hi on this number. It's on WhatsApp, so that we'll add you to our contact list, and thereafter we'll send you the feedback form. You'll fill it out, and e-certificates will be available from IHRDI. Secondly, friends, this recording will be available in a day or two on the IHRDI channel, which will be sharing it with you if we have your contact numbers. Otherwise, you can just visit IHRDI channel, and this recording alongside other recordings also is available. And kindly support this channel in terms of, by subscribing, liking, and sharing the channel. So friends, this channel, IHRDI channel, is on YouTube. You can see the earlier 20 odd recordings also on very important issues, and with very eminent speakers out there. And all of these are very burning issues which have been undertaken in terms of the last 31 weeks discussion. So once again, I thank all of you. Be safe. Enjoy your life, and goodbye to all of you. Sayonara. Till we meet next time with some other relevant topic. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Dr.
Thank you very much.